So my name is Monojit. I'm here with Manfred.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Manfred Helber. I'm a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, and I'm responsible for a part of the live demos later in the session.
Yes, so today we'll cover how to reuse your existing Windows Server licenses on Azure using Azure Hybrid Benefit. We'll first cover the concept, and then Manfred is going to go over how that experience looks like in Azure. So a lot of people, a lot of customers I talk to bring up, like, gee, like I've been using Windows Server for a long time. In some cases it's decades. Why do I need to modernize? And as you've seen or you have been listening to a lot of these sessions, with cloud and AI, the IT services can be modernized. What that means is things such as self-service, where it used to take sometimes days, weeks, or even months to get virtual machines, now instantaneously is available to developers. What that means is many administrators can now focus on innovating and running the operations at scale, right? In fact, Forrester did a study, which is what we are highlighting here, and found out that 80% of tasks can be reduced. Things like patching servers, things like network configurations, firewall configurations, all of those things become that much more easier. One of the customers, Anheuser-Busch, the makers of Budweiser, said that now they have so much deeper understanding of their customers that they can make products that caters to what their customers want, deliver the experiences that their customers want. And how they're able to do this? They're able to tap into the data and analyze the data like never before. A lot of our customers that we talk to as Windows Server are choosing Azure for cloud. And the reason we found is also ingrained in the philosophy of which how we have built Windows Server for generations. Like a lot of people run Windows servers, use Windows servers to run business critical applications. And the same philosophies do translate into how we make Azure. Things like security is of utmost importance. Microsoft runs a number of services, Azure of course, Office 365, Xbox, and so forth, and we are able to collect terabytes of security signals that help us analyze and translate that into protecting the host. Not only that, we are able to take that information and create best practices for our end users to use them. There are inbuilt hybrid capability that you may have seen in 16 and 2019, Windows Server 16 and 2019. If you haven't already seen some of the Windows Admin Center demos, please do look at that. With Windows Admin Center, you can not only manage the Windows servers that are running on premises, but also on Azure. And so these hybrid capabilities combined with the innovation that you see in SQL for data. With Azure SQL database, once you upgrade to Azure SQL database, you no longer have to patch your SQL servers. It's always patched, and it's compatible to older versions. Now you combine all of these things with the benefits, the things that we're going to talk about, like Azure Hybrid Benefits and free extended security updates. It just makes sense to take your Windows Server workloads and move them into Azure. So let's talk a little bit about what is Azure Hybrid Benefit. Okay, everybody ready for this? This is perhaps the main slide here that I'm going to talk to. So Azure Hybrid Benefit is a pricing offer that is available to customers with software assurance, and you can take the existing licenses, the customers with existing software assurance can take those licenses and move into Azure, and you no longer have to pay for the Windows Server license. And that translates into 40% saving on the VM cost itself. Okay? Now you combine that with things like reserved instances, and you can increase that cost savings all the way up to like 80%. Not only that, if you have Windows Server 2008, can I see a raise of hands if anybody has I was almost wishing that nobody raised the hand, but that's okay. once you combine the Windows Server 2008 with Azure Hybrid Benefit, you can see that once you move those VMs into Azure, you get free extended security updates. And you combine that, and you can combine that offer with Azure Hybrid Benefit to get the most cost savings, something that is not offered in any other cloud. A little bit more on the Azure Hybrid Benefit, okay? So Azure Hybrid Benefit is available for both Windows Server and SQL Server. And here is the math that translates depending on the version. So I'll go on the first column itself. If you have, let's say you have a 16-core Windows Server license running on premises, and you have a standard license at that. If you move those into Azure, that can be translated into, let's say, 2 instances of 8 cores or 1 instance of 16 cores. Okay? If you have a standard license, you have 180 days to convert over to Azure. If you have a data center license, you have dual use rights, which means you can continue to run on premises as well as on Azure. Now, earlier this year, we launched Azure Dedicated Host. If you're running a virtual machine in Azure Dedicated Host, the same things that I just said applies. Okay? If you are moving into your destination is a physical host instance in Azure Dedicated Host, this is how it works. For every core, on premises will translate into 1 core on Azure Dedicated Host, physical instances. Plus, you have unlimited virtualization capabilities if you're moving into a physical host, something that is exactly available on premises too. Okay? With that, you want to go over the experience?
I will do though. So, yeah, Monoyer showed you the cost savings we have with the Azure Hybrid Benefit. I will use the next minutes to show you how to configure it in the Azure Portal. So how can you use this hybrid use benefit? What do you have to do to have this cost savings? When we look at the Azure Portal, here we usually, you should know it, maybe you have already used it. Here we create our virtual machines. Here we provide the information about our virtual machines we will run. And what we here see is a view on my Azure Portal, and I go to the section Virtual Machines. There's one existing, we will use this machine later, and I will create a new virtual machine we have here. And this new virtual machine, usually we have to provide some information, like, for example, the resource group I'm using here. We need information like the virtual machine name I specify here. I have a Microsoft Ignite virtual machine. We have a data center region we use in the configuration. And when we are looking on the costs, the most important thing is the operating system we are on there. Is it a Linux distribution or Windows Server? And the size of the virtual machine. Because we don't only pay for the licenses in Azure, we also pay for CPU consumption, memory consumption, and so on. And for this demo, I selected a virtual machine with 2 virtual CPU cores and 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's this D2S version 3 virtual machine, and this has a specific price. We will see this price later. The interesting thing is, when we select this virtual machine and we specify the user information we need to log on to this virtual machine later, then when we scroll down on this page, we are able to configure if we want to use the hybrid use benefit on this virtual machine. So here we can see I provide the user information, the logon information for this user where we need to access the virtual machine later. And then in the next step, we have this selection option we can see on the bottom of the page where we can select, yes, I have a hybrid use benefit option. I have a Windows Server license that's covered by software assurance. I want to use this. This is on a trust basis. This is the reason when you click on yes, there's an additional checkbox you have to highlight where you say, yes, I confirm I have the eligible Windows Server licenses with software assurance that gives me the eligible rights to use this license in Microsoft Azure. As Monoyer described it, in concurrent usage with data center or in the transition with the Windows Server standard. And as soon as we click yes and highlight this checkbox, we get a confirmation page where we see all our configured information. And when we now create this virtual machine, we have the cost savings on this specific virtual machine. We have heard when we bring our Windows Server license that's covered by software assurance, we are able to save 40% of costs on this machine. And this is what we configured in these few steps here in the Azure Portal. So it's only a switch and a checkbox to highlight, and then we can have the advantages of the hybrid use benefit. So when we want to see what's the effect, what's the cost effect of this virtual machine, then for sure we have to know the size, and we have to know the information about the configuration, and we can calculate it in the Azure Price Calculator. The Azure Price Calculator is the easiest tool we can use to have a roundabout information what the costs of our workload will be. There are additional calculators where we can have a detailed calculation, we can have a total cost calculation, and we can analyze our existing workload to get detailed prices. But the pricing calculator in Azure helps us to get an impression what is the price effect when we use hybrid use benefit, and we will select the same region here, we will select the operating system Windows, and the same size of virtual machine I created in the Azure Portal. And we can see when we select this DS version 2, version 3 virtual machine, there will be a price provided here on this Azure pricing calculator. And this price includes everything on a consumption basis. We can see here $152 per month for this virtual machine based on a pay-per-use. And we have also a switch here where we can select, we want to use this hybrid use benefit. We want to see the cost effect on this. And as soon as we turn it on, we can see this price changes. Here we have, on this specific virtual machine, 44% savings per month. So it goes down from $152 per month to something like $83 per month, because we bring our own license that has to be covered by software assurance. An additional benefit we can use it, and you have seen this on the slides of Monoye, is that we switch from a pay-as-you-go to a prepaid configuration, where we say I want to have a reserved instance for 1 or for 3 years. And we see when we use all these options we have here, then can go the price from the virtual machine from $152 per month for this specific configuration down to $37. So if I combine the hybrid use benefit and the reservation is perfect for you when you say, I don't need this pay-as-you-go. I really need this virtual machine for 1 year, for 3 years with the full functionality. I'm not able to switch the virtual machine off in the night hours. I cannot turn it off on the weekend. I really need this virtual machine in the configuration 24/7 the whole year. So this is the pricing calculator, very helpful when you need to get an impression when you want to calculate your possible price savings. So several customers already have existing virtual machines. And also on the existing virtual machines, we can configure this hybrid use benefit. It's a configuration option of the virtual machine. And this is also available in the Azure Portal. When we use the Azure Portal and we go to virtual machines here, we see our virtual machine we created, the virtual machine 02, and the virtual machine that existed before. When we look at the virtual machine 02, we can see here in this virtual machine, when I go to the configuration section, I have here the hybrid use benefit already configured. This was the virtual machine we used in the first demo we did here in the portal. Yes, hybrid use benefit is already there, and I confirm I have the eligible Windows Server licenses to run this machine. On the virtual machine 01, when I go to the configuration, it's turned to no, so it's not on the hybrid use option here, but I can turn this on later. I don't have to reinstall the virtual machine. I don't have to recreate it. It's only a switch on the virtual machine that saves me this around about 40% on the virtual machine, because I say, yes, I have an eligible Windows Server license I can bring to the Azure Portal, to my Azure subscription, and I confirm here that I have the eligible Windows Server license with software assurance so I can use this. I only save the information, and as soon as I do this, I save on this virtual machine. So it's very easy to configure, it's very easy to use. You only need the information MonoU provided to you, that you know about this functionality. Now the question is, are there customers that use it? And yes, Microsoft has several customer success stories that use already the hybrid benefit, and that helps them to save costs on their monthly Azure subscription. For example, Devon, it's an energy corporation, it's in oil and gas exploration sector, and they analyzed their Azure cost spends, and this is very important to decide if we can have an advantage on this hybrid benefit. And they realized that they could reduce their cost and optimize their monthly spends in Azure if they add the hybrid use benefit via software assurance to their existing Windows Server licenses, so they can significantly decrease their monthly costs. So what's important to know, the software assurance is the key to success for the hybrid use benefit, and the software assurance is a part you decide to buy it with your volume licenses, or you also can add the software assurance to your OEM license, but you have to decide when you buy this specific license. So, and with this information, I give back to Monoyi. Yeah. No audio?
If you have software assurance today, please definitely take advantage of Azure Hybrid Benefit. As you saw, the experience is very straightforward. If you're using a pay-as-you-go model, it's really turning a slider and making sure that you're eligible for that. And once you do that, you can take advantage. A lot of you who are able to have a better control on your cost and buying reserved instances, that does get combined as you saw, and that can take, depending on the type of VM you're taking, that savings can be all the way up to 80%. We do have a lot of resources that are available. If you go to Azure Hybrid Benefit, just search for that. It'll take you to a long FAQ where we have put a lot of effort trying to demystify the concepts and how exactly that math works. The Azure Calculator is another good source. And the last one is Windows Server and Azure. If you just search for Windows Server and Azure, that's another good place to get a lot of good resources on how other customers are also taking advantage of Azure Hybrid Benefit, Windows Server and Azure. With that, we do have a Windows Server customer appreciation party tonight. If you're interested, the booths are right behind you. To sign up, please do that. And lastly, please do not forget to give us your evaluations. Thank you so much. We'll be available here to answer some questions.
Thank you.